So the U.S. Secret Service shot a man around midnight on March 9th, which is today. According to the chief of communications for the United States Secret Service, Anthony Guglielmi, he said that Secret Service personnel were involved in a shooting following an armed encounter with a person of interest shortly after midnight on March 9th at 17th and G Streets Northwest. Media staging area will be at 17th in Pennsylvania. He said the Secret Service Uniforms Division Chief Michael Buck provided an on-scene media briefing. Our preliminary statement is below. The D.C. Police Department will lead the investigation as they are the primary agency responsible for the use of force incidents within the District of Columbia. Here's the statement. All right. Says statement on March 9th, officer involved shooting. On Sunday, March 9th, an adult male was shot by U.S. Secret Service personnel following an armed confrontation with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. Earlier on Saturday, local police shared information about a individual who may be traveling to Washington, D.C. from Indiana with a death wish. Around midnight, members of the Secret Service encountered the individual's parked vehicle near 17th and F Streets Northwest. They also saw an individual on foot matching the description nearby. As officers approached, the individual brandished a firearm and an armed confrontation ensued, during which shots were fired by our personnel. The suspect was transported to an area hospital and his condition is unknown. There were no reported injuries to Secret Service personnel. So that's good. That means that nobody in the Secret Service got injured. That's good. The incident is under investigation by the Metropolitan Police Department Internal Affairs Division Force Investigation Teams, which investigates all law enforcement officer involved shootings in the District of Columbia. Okay. So there was a shooting, happened shortly after midnight on March 9th. So last night at midnight, literally just happened. And no Secret Service personnel were harmed. And the guy is currently in the hospital. So that's crazy.
And we start with breaking news this morning. Moments before we got on the air, we learned the Secret Service shot an armed man just outside the White House. According to the U.S. Secret Service, they got a tip about a suicidal person traveling to D.C. from Indiana. They saw the person's parked car nearby and say they were armed. Secret Service says the suspect was taken to the hospital. No Secret Service agents were hurt. President Trump is not at the White House this morning. He is in Florida.
So the president is not even at the White House this morning. He's in Florida. So whoever this guy was, he kind of just went out there on like winging it. And that's crazy. That's wild. I wonder if there's any more information on it.
That breaking news, a man believed to be from Indiana was shot by the U.S. Secret Service after an armed confrontation outside of the White House overnight. Now, taking a live look from the White House right now, where this happened just after midnight, Washington police report a suicidal individual possibly traveling to D.C. from Indiana, and Secret Service later found that individual's vehicle and spotted a person matching the description. The Secret Service says that the man brandished a firearm as an officer approached. A confrontation followed, and that man was taken to the hospital. His condition right now is unknown. President Donald Trump was in Florida at the time of the shooting.
The U.S. Secret Service says one of its agents shot an armed man near the White House late on Saturday night. This is the live scene in Washington, D.C. No one else was hurt, and President Trump was not in the building at the time. He's spending the weekend at Mar-A-Lago in Florida. We have had a statement from the Secret Service. It says that an adult male was shot by Secret Service personnel following an armed confrontation with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. Earlier on Sunday, it says local police shared information about a suicidal individual who may be traveling to Washington from Indiana. Around midnight, members of the Secret Service
individual who had breaking news coming from the US now, and the US Secret Service has shot a man near the White House in Washington, D.C. That's according to our colleagues at NBC News in the States. It happened shortly after midnight after an armed confrontation with law enforcement, according to the Secret Service there.
This guy posted a picture of where it was. It says that the White House is right here, and the car was discovered over here. Okay. They confronted him on foot near F Streets. Yeah. Well, I think that's...
Around midnight last night, Secret Service personnel encountered the individual's vehicle parked around near 17th and F Street Northwest. Short time later, they observed an individual on foot matching the description. As officers approached, the individual brandished a firearm, at which time an armed encounter ensued, and Secret Service personnel discharged their service weapons.
Okay. Well, Pretty much the same thing that everybody else has been saying. Nothing's changed. Well, there's been a lot of stuff going on. Maybe that's why he's going back and forth between Florida and DC so often, to just kind of keep people on their toes so they can't ever really predict whether or not he's going to be there or not, you know? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are, there's probably a lot of threats, some credible, some not credible, constantly. So the last time I remember seeing a guy get shot by the Secret Service near the White House was 2016, because the man, he was near the White House on a Friday. Secret Service shot him. Yeah, the White House got totally locked down for 45 minutes that Friday because the guy was carrying a gun near the complex and was shot by Secret Service agents just after 3 p.m. The guy's name was Oliveri, carrying a gun, approached the Secret Service checkpoint on the outer perimeter of the White House grounds near 17th and East Street Northwest. He ignored commands from the Secret Service officers to drop his weapon and began brandishing a firearm. Not the greatest idea. Not a good idea, dude. Secret Service then fired a single shot at Oliveri, wounding him according to the official. He was then taken into custody and the Secret Service personnel administered first aid. The president was not at the White House at the time of the incident, and the lockdown was lifted after 4 p.m. Vice President Biden was reported to be within the complex at the White House. Okay, so this, at the time, this must have been May of 2016. Yeah. So Barack Obama was still the president at the time when this happened. That's the last time I remember seeing this kind of a thing happen. So that's crazy. Looks like, where are the images? I think this is the guy right here. Yeah. Jesse Oliveri, he was covering his face and he rolled up with what kind of firearm that is. It looks like a Luger. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But obviously didn't end well for him because this is what it ended up looking like after he got shot. Oops. Of course, it's Washington Post to do that. Yeah, this is what it ended up looking like. Oh! He got shot, and then he kicked the pistol away. Yo. That's crazy. This is the last time I saw anything like this happen. Nuts, man. Jesse Oliveri, and yeah, he got arrested. That was it. You like if you're walking up to the Secret Service with a firearm out, there's so many people around there, you're gonna get shot, dude. Like you're not gonna be successful. Especially if you're by yourself. The dude didn't have any kit on. He didn't have any like protective equipment on. He just like, I think I'm just going to roll up and do this. And the Secret Service are like extremely on edge. A lot of them are combat veterans too. Look at the dude in the back holding the fire. He picked it up. I wouldn't have even picked that thing up, bro. I wouldn't have even picked it up. I can't believe they captured this whole thing on camera. The one that happened earlier today, I don't think that got caught on camera because it was midnight and it was probably it's probably still pretty light out because DC is pretty well lit, even in the evenings. I wonder what they got in that box. Probably first aid, maybe? Yeah, they got a med bag right there. They're going to cut away his shirt, probably perform first aid on him. Yeah. That's crazy, man. Yeah. I don't know what kind of an injury he had, but I mean, it's just so wild. He just nonchalant walks up and that's it. Like, hey, dude, I don't know what you expected. So, but I haven't seen anything like that from this. I don't know if we're going to end up seeing any security camera footage come out of this stuff, but I'd be curious to see. That's for sure.